How are you? It is Super Bowl week here in Tampa Bay, where everybody's ready for the Bucs, the Chiefs, Super Bowl 55. The electricity's in the air. I'm even feeling it. Normally, you just see me in the background. Today, a little bit of Super Bowl history going on here. If you're familiar with electric football, that is the final play, Rams and Titans. All right, so Super Bowl history going on behind me. Super Bowl going forward. We're talking about Super Bowl 55. We got our Nuts and Bolts sports writers in the house. We got our special guests in the house. And since I'm talking about them, I'm going to bring them in. All right, so first things first, you know the gift, people. That's right. We're talking about the most famous name on the Nuts and Bolts sports staff. We're talking about Mr. Keith Richards in the house. Keith.
Hello.
Welcome.
How's it going?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Trying to win some money this weekend.
Yeah, well, listen, you won't be rooting for your team just like I won't be rooting for mine, so might as well make it good for something else, right?
Exactly.
There you go. So we got one Nuts and Bolts sports writer in the house. Let's get the other one here. You know, his team is out of it too. We're talking about Dominic Churosky in the house.
What's going on?
And listen, it's going to be wings and a whole bunch of bad food and beer.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Listen, there's nothing healthy at my house Super Bowl Sunday. There's no celery and dip, none of that stuff. The fattening food comes out that day.
Absolutely.
All right. So we got to bring somebody whose team is actually in the hunt this weekend. Mm-hmm. Although, listen, I may be in the town where not only are the Super Bowls being played, but one of the teams is in it. I have no rooting interest in this game whatsoever. I'm just going to sit back, watch, and talk crap about both teams. But this guy is going to actually sit there and live and die with every snap. We're talking about John Myers in the house. John.
Yep, definitely going to live and die with these snaps. I'm ready. It's exciting.
Indeed, man. Listen. It should be a very exciting game. We all know what both of these teams are packing offensively. We've seen the opportunistic defenses. It's going to be a great game. The quarterback matchup, listen, you need to say anything more. You can go down the list on these two teams. But with that being said, we got a show to do, guys. So I know you're excited. I know I'm excited. And we're going to start with more of the breaking news side. We're not even going to get into the Super Bowl in the first quarter. Let's get to the first quarter, folks. All right, so first quarter. You know, we've had some breaking news this weekend happen. Everybody was talking about Matthew Stafford could be moved before the Super Bowl. Everybody said, yeah. We've heard that stuff before. Agent talk. And then the news came down. Matthew Stafford is now an LA Ram. You know, who saw that coming? I didn't see it coming. But Matthew Stafford going to the Rams, right? For Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a third-round pick. Mm-hmm. So, to start this off, who got the better end of this deal? And since we only have one guy whose team is actually playing this weekend, John, you get to start this off.
Well, I think the Lions stole this one here. You know, you got 2 firsts and a third, and you get Jared Goff. I don't think Jared Goff's all that bad of a quarterback. He's probably not going to win you a Super Bowl, but I don't know if Matthew Stafford's going to win you a Super Bowl. With that defense, you have a chance in LA, and to take it out on the rest of the NFC. But you're in a stacked division with Kyler Murray and everybody up in Seattle, and who knows what San Francisco is going to do if they're healthy and find a quarterback that's not Jimmy Garoppolo in this offseason. I think they're going to make a big push for Deshaun Watson, maybe somebody else that's out there. I think San Francisco is going to make some big plays. I don't see how LA got a whole lot better. Matthew Stafford's weapons in Detroit, I find just as comparable to what he had in Detroit. Kenny Galladay, isn't that big of a drop from, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, the running games are pretty comparable. I just don't see how Matthew Stafford's going to be the difference. And then you get the draft capital that Detroit got. Yeah, you're taking on that contract. But with the way salary caps can be restructured and deals can be restructured through it all, I don't foresee that being a huge problem with the amount of capital that Detroit got in return. So I think Detroit won this. It's going to be a fun offseason if this was the start, and with Deshaun trying to get the big deal or trying to get out of Houston the way he is. So it was a nice distraction with that weekend that we didn't have football.
Good start. Good start. All right, Dom, all yours.
All right, so I am super high on Matthew Stafford. I have always been high on Matthew Stafford. I felt like Matthew Stafford is one of the more underrated and underappreciated quarterbacks of his generation. To me, it's the Rams, because I feel like with Matthew Stafford, I mean, you think about the gap between Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff, in my opinion, is wide, very wide. And I feel like with the Rams, you have a legitimate shot at winning a Super Bowl now with Matthew Stafford. Two things that Matthew Stafford has never really had in Detroit: it's a run game or a defense. The one time that he had a really good defense in Detroit, they went like 13-3. So you give Matthew Stafford a run game, which is something he's never had in the majority of his career. I don't think like he's ever had a 1,000-yard rusher behind him. Like, you go into a Los Angeles system where, you have Sean McVay, who offensive genius, all that other stuff. You have some good running backs, Cam Akers and whatnot, but you have an elite defense, right? You have an elite defense. Matthew Stafford goes over there. I mean, look at what that team did with John Walford and Jared Goff, right? So I can only imagine what Matthew Stafford is going to do, especially in this offensive system. And then as far as the Detroit Lions, draft capital is great, but at the end of the day, they're still hit or miss, right? Like, draft picks are fool's gold because, yeah, they sound good to have, but guess what? You can miss on all of them. So, and then you look at what Jared Goff is. Goff, without Sean McVay, what was he? Now, granted, he was with Jeff Fisher before, and Jeff Fisher is kind of known for killing quarterbacks. But Jared Goff, he's kind of just a guy. He's not special. He's not terrible. He's somewhere just kind of average. And you have an average quarterback now on a huge contract, and you really don't even know if he's going to be the face of your franchise. Also, he's playing in Detroit, and now he's going to be playing in the NFC North a lot, and Jared Goff is notoriously terrible in games of like 40 degrees or lower. So, yeah, you got some draft picks, and that's cool. I mean, it is a good building block to start rebuilding this team. Dan Campbell and all that. They want to bite kneecaps off, and that's great. You can get some tough guys in there. But as of right now, I think if you're the Rams, you're jumping for joy because it's like we got rid of a terrible contract in Jared Goff, and we got a guy in here who we actually want and who we feel can actually win us a Super Bowl.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Keith, your turn.
I think the Lions have the potential to have the better off side of the trade. Or if we're just looking at it just right now, I think you have to go with the Rams. I mean, like Don was saying, they have draft picks, but they have to do good things with those draft picks. I mean, it's not like they have been terrible drafting, but, I mean, you look at the last few years of their drafting, the biggest names you come away with are T.J. Hawkinson, Kerryon Johnson, Kenny Galladay, all big names, especially when it comes to fantasy football, but are these teams that you're building to win a Super Bowl around? And I don't think you can say that. And not to say that you can build to win a Super Bowl around Matthew Stafford, but given the creativity we've seen from Sean McVay and that LA offense, I don't think he necessarily has to have the same caliber players that he does in Detroit, where she still put up decent numbers, threw for over 4,000 yards this season. The biggest thing is that he's going to have the defense in LA that he did not have in Detroit. And I'm another person who is not as hard on Matt Stafford as a lot of people seem to be. No, his numbers don't jump off the page at you. He's not being talked about as an all-time great, but he also played for a really crappy team with really crappy management. Whether LA is better is still yet to be seen because they did give Jared Goff that ridiculous contract, but they are still very good on defense. And with a defense like that, not having to have all the pressure on him to have a fourth quarter comeback drive every single game, I think we'll see Matt Stafford play better than he has in the past. It puts him in a tough spot, giving away all those picks, because if Stafford gets hurt, they're kind of screwed. But as long as he's healthy, I wouldn't call them Super Bowl favorites, but I'd put them on the outside shot of winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw this trade, I was blown away. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not because of quarterbacks. All right, they traded to get Stafford. Is it a bump up over Goff? To me, yes. All right, Matt Stafford, you think about it, the prime of his career was spent with Megatron. And he put up some great numbers. Didn't really win a lot.
Right.
But he did put up some great numbers. Had some great moments. But when you look at it overall, he's an upgrade at the quarterback position. He's going to help them possibly win another game or two. But he's never really won anything big. And part of that is on him because he's had his moments. You think of the times when they got to the playoffs with Megatron and company, and they had a chance to beat Dallas in Dallas. And nobody talks about that game. They'll talk about the penalties at the end. There are plenty of times in that game he could have put Dallas away. He didn't have it. And how that game ended was on him getting sacked by DeMarcus Lawrence on back-to-back plays. Okay. He's never stepped up to the occasion when it came to those big moments, the few times he's had them. So, and when he's gotten there against Green Bay, we saw what happened. Okay, he's had guys on those teams, whether it's Ndamukong Suh. You go down the list of guys they added to those teams in Detroit, and he just wasn't special. He was good, but he wasn't special. Goff, we saw what Goff is. Okay, let's just face it. The guy is a good starter, but is not an elite quarterback, and he will never be elite. So he was oversold. But to give up 2 first-rounders and then a third to boot, okay, so you're really giving up a lot when you're giving up your quarterback too. So that was a risk, really, really big reach for me. So I think, to me, my Detroit wins. Because plain and simple, yeah, we may have given up Stafford, and we got a quarterback who can start for us now, but we're getting 2 first-round picks. So even if we see this guy sucks, we have a pick to replace him next year. So it's amazing what they got in this haul for an aging veteran quarterback. And all they had to do was take on some money that they could probably get rid of in another year or two when the cap comes back to normal and fans are back in the stands. Mm-hmm. So very interesting situation that I think kind of Detroit kind of got one over on good old LA because they were just that desperate to get rid of Jared Goff. Desperation leads to desperate moves. Mm-hmm. So it's a good start to the show. We've been talking about breaking news. I'm trying to talk about the Super Bowl. Oh, there we go. Second quarter, everybody. All right. So the magic number right now we're talking is 10. That's right. 10 Super Bowl appearances. For that guy right there, he's raised 6 of them. All right, going for a chance to raise 7, an unprecedented 7. Got to give credit where credit is due. Granted, he was the bus driver the first couple of times, but he's done it with his arm the last few times, except for this past championship game. He got a lot of help from that defense, but the guy that's supposed to be discount double checking teams out the playoffs kind of helped them too by missing targets in the Reds. But I'm not going to get on into the Green Bay Packers. But anyway, so Tom Brady usually wins. He usually gets the MVP. So you guys tell me which Bucs player can kind of steal that MVP spotlight from Tom Brady if they do pull this win off. So, we had the guest start off the last one. Mm-hmm. All right, so Keith, this one's all yours.
I think for the way that the league is set up right now, if there's one player who has a chance to take away the MVP from Tom Brady, it's a defensive player, and I think it's Jason Pierre-Paul. When you look at Mahomes and how the Chiefs run their offense, they don't do a lot of double tight end or a lot of big packages. They put a lot of receivers on the field. You need to keep as many people into coverage as you can. And because you do that, you can't rush 5, 6, 7 people often because the numbers don't lie. When you rush Mahomes with 5 or more people, he will absolutely shred you. So I think if the Bucs have a chance to win this game, they need to be able to rush with 5 or less and put pressure on Mahomes and keep people in coverage so that they don't lose coverage when they're trying to keep Mahomes uncomfortable. And Jason Pierre-Paul has the opportunity to do that if he can have a great game. That would mean that they're rushing 5 or less. He's getting in the face of Mahomes. They're not losing people in coverage that allows the receivers to run open when Mahomes is out of the pocket. If he plays a phenomenal game, which I think is really the only way they're going to be able to beat the Chiefs, they're not going to be able to outscore them. They're going to need a terrific game from the defense in order to win, and a terrific game from the defense I think would have to be led by Jason Pierre-Paul.
All right. Dom, all yours.
So I actually totally agree with everything that Keith said. Only I go a different player. I say Shaq Barrett. I think that it's going to have to be, if Tom Brady doesn't win it, it's going to have to be a defensive player. And because I'm a firm believer that if the Bucs win this game, it's going to be because they were able to get after Patrick Mahomes. That offensive line, you were already missing one of your starters. You lost Eric Fisher last week. You're down 2 starting offensive linemen, Eric Fisher being your best offensive lineman. That is going to open things up. Now, granted, when you have Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes, it's very easy to get the ball off really fast. But if the Bucs do win this, it's going to be because that defense absolutely just makes it hell on earth for Patrick Mahomes. Very similar to what the 49ers did last year and how they made him super uncomfortable. It looked like that was literally probably the worst game we've seen Patrick Mahomes play was last year in the Super Bowl because that defense got after him. So if that is going to be the case, I believe that it's going to have to be a defensive player, and I go Shaq Barrett.
All right. John, all yours.
Well, I was going to go with a defensive player because, Tom Brady can go out there and go 12 for 35 with 166 yards and 3 TDs. And if the Bucs win, he's going to get the MVP. It's just, you can't give a guy who's won 7 Super Bowls not the MVP. But so to go against the grain here, I'll go off the cusp here and go Leonard Fournette running ramshot over the Chiefs defense because you're going to have to score points to beat the Chiefs. This myth out there that you can, if you get pressure with 4 and you can bracket Kelce and Hill and keep the game, you keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, you're going to win. It's happened 3 times in the last 36 games now. So it's not happening. You're going to score points, and it's probably going to be with Tom Brady's arm. But for grins and giggles, I'll say Leonard Fournette just running all over the Chiefs' suspect rush defense.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be one of those interesting things because if Tom Brady's throwing the touchdowns, the receiver's not going to get the MVP unless he goes for 200 yards.
Right.
And even if he does, if Tom Brady goes for 300 or 400, forget about it. It's still going to be Tom Brady. I don't see with the running back splitting carries, one of them getting enough of the stat line to get that award. And honestly, let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Sacks aren't going to get you the MVP. It has to be turnovers. And if anybody's getting the most turnovers right now or making the most plays on the football, it's got to be Sean Murphy-Bunting. But do I see him intercepting Mahomes that many times? These receivers are a different animal. Okay, so Yeah, listen, I'm with you. If there's going to be an MVP for the Bucs, if they win, it's going to be TB, and I don't mean Tampa Bay. So, yeah. Well, we've reached the halfway point. We're getting to a little bit of halftime, so everybody get a sip of something. It's time for a commercial. The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today. And we are back. Ready for some more action here. Here we go. Getting ready for some third quarter action. Tight contest here, Super Bowl week. Everybody get your chips and dips ready for the pregame stuff because the heavy food comes in during the game. You do not eat chips and dips during the Super Bowl. That is for pregame. Just let people know that, all right? If you're eating chips and dips during the game, you're doing it wrong, all right? Here we go, third quarter. All right, so we've talked MVPs on the Tampa Bay side of things. Let's talk it on the Kansas City side. So we all know last time it was Mahomes' turn. I see three potential candidates that could steal this from him. Most likely candidates. We're talking about, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and of course Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So the question for you guys is, who could possibly, out of those three, be the one that steals the MVP from Patrick Mahomes? All right, so this time, Dom, start us off.
So, which of those three? To me, it's Tyreek Hill. Just because I feel like Tyreek Hill is kind of the one player. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a little bit different, but I feel like they kind of have a pretty nice rotation of three different running backs in Kansas City. Now, granted, we'll see how much Le'Veon Bell plays, but Williams has played really well last week or 2 weeks ago. So we got to see what goes on there. But I think you'll see split carries, kind of the same situation we said for Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. They'll be split carries. So I don't think either one of them will really have an opportunity to get an MVP. And as far as Travis Kelce goes, I feel like if Travis Kelce is having a big game, that means that Patrick Mahomes is having a big game. So if that's the case, then it's going to go to Mahomes. Tyreek Hill, on the other hand, is the one player that I feel like even if Mahomes maybe is struggling, Tyreek Hill can still end up with like 150 yards and like 2 touchdowns. And Patrick Mahomes can still have a bad day and something like that could happen. You have him just as a weapon out of the backfield on, reverses. He can take a slant or a screen 70 yards. Things like that can happen for Tyreek Hill, right? And so because of that, and then also you just take into consideration that the last time these two teams played, Tyreek Hill had 200 plus receiving yards in the first quarter against the Bucs. So Tyreek Hill kind of is the obvious answer here.
All right, John, all yours.
Dom, Carlton Davis is still having nightmares with what Tyreek Hill. My pick is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think because of what Kansas City was able to do in that first game, Tampa's not going to be able to come out and go cover one this entire game because of the speed that Tyreek Hill possesses. We'll have Sammy Watkins back for this game, so that'll open up that other side. And then if you try to bracket with safeties on both Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and then throw a spy on Patrick Mahomes, the screen game's going to open. And I see it might be the rotation of running backs, but I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get the bulk of it early on. And I think if he's successful, we're going to keep him in there. Just with having those tackles out, I think you're going to see a lot of the shorter passing game be part of the Chiefs' game plan and to get out quickly. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire has proven that he has the hands and can make the moves after catch. You'll see some Sammy Watkins, McCole Hardman, maybe Byron Pringle in on those as well. But I think Clyde has a chance. And last year, if you look at the tape, Damian Williams deserved to win that MVP last year. He had two of the biggest plays in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, what he did in that last 6 minutes, won it for him, and it just by default falls to the quarterback most of the time. But Damian Williams should have won that, and I'm going to go off on a limb and think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has a similar game, and maybe the voters will actually use their brains this time.
All right, Keith, all yours to clean it up.
Yeah, I think John and I are on the same wavelength. I go back and think about the Super Bowl that they won last year. And as much as I love Patrick Mahomes, I don't think he was the MVP of that game. I think there were two players more deserving of MVP in that game, and there was Chris Jones and Damian Williams. Chris Jones, for what he did on defense, he had a monster game in the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to have that same impact this year because he hasn't so far. Damian Williams obviously is not playing. He opted out. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the reason that the Chiefs will be able to negate what Tampa Bay is trying to do. So what Tampa Bay is obviously going to try to do is to leave as many people in coverage as they can. Damian Williams last year in the Super Bowl had 17 rushes for 104 yards. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire can have a similar or better game than that. And what that allows the Chiefs to do is that pulls more people into the box, and then you have the space to be able to go deep to Tyreek Hill or hit Travis Kelce over the middle. If he has a great game, there's not a whole lot the Bucs can do to beat the Chiefs. Not only is it just another weapon for the Chiefs, as if they need another one, but the Bucs have an explosive offense of their own with Mike Evans and Scotty Miller and Fournette, Rojo, and a bunch of other weapons that they have, Chris Godwin. So if they can leave them on the sideline as much as they can and put up points, then I just don't see how Tampa Bay wins that game. And the only way they can keep sustained drives going is if they have a 100-plus rushing yard day. I think it would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It could be Le'Veon Bell. We don't know. But I think more than likely Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be the one to carry the bulk of the running responsibilities, and he is a great receiver out of the backfield as well. So I think he has a good shot to be MVP. Probably won't be because they'd like to give it to the quarterback, but he would be deserving of it, I think.
All right, yeah. I mean, once again, you're talking about these quarterbacks who've been past MVPs. They're the guys everybody's looking at as the key matchup in this game. As long as they have some kind of semblance of success, they're probably going to win it. But I could see Kelce stealing it from him. And the reason being is, yes, we know what Hill does on the outside. We know the running game is going to be a factor for them, especially with the injuries on the offensive line, trying to keep Mahomes a little bit cleaner. But his safety valve on third down, Travis Kelce. He's going to be the guy in the red zone that he looks to, Travis Kelce. All right, so I see him getting a couple of touchdowns. I see him getting those big third down conversions, possibly even one to help seal a game late in the fourth quarter. So it could easily be Travis Kelce who steals it away from him.
I say he need at least 10 and 150. If he breaks that threshold, I think he's got a good shot.
No, that'd be really good. I think he could do it with. I think he could do 8. If he gets 8 catches, 120 and 2 touchdowns, he could possibly steal it.
It'll be hard. It'll be hard.
If they score 40 points, it will get lost in the sauce. But I'm just saying. But if they score 31 points, a rushing touchdown from Helaire, a big play from Hill, and he gets the 2 touchdowns, 8 catches. One of them is a big third down to seal the game. Yeah, I can see that happening. It'll be either him at that point. They'll be looking at him or Mahomes.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Absolutely.
Man, we've gotten to the fourth quarter really early in the show. We're going to have a lot to talk about after this show is over. All right, so with that being said, I'm not going to make it. Throw up your fours. Throw up your fours for the fourth quarter. All right, so it's time for the last word here in the fourth quarter. All right, you guys are just going to tell me and sell me on your Super Bowl prediction. All right, so I think everybody's had a chance to start one off. Am I correct?
Yep.
All right, there you go. So let's look at the stat sheet here. Let's see, who do we want to give this a go here? All right. You know what? Dom, why don't you get us started here for the fourth quarter?
All righty. Whew, boy. So a couple weeks ago, I was sitting and I was actually on my podcast and I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about this. And earlier I said, I believe the Bucs are going to beat the Packers and I believe it's going to be Bucs Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And I said, you know what? I think I might lean Tampa Bay. That was before I watched the Chiefs play the Bills. And I don't know, and it's not surprising what the Chiefs did to the Bills. It's not something that I hadn't seen from them before, but I think it was just a really good slap in the face to be like, hey, this is the team. I have the Chiefs, and it's simply because that offense, truly, I believe this offense is something that we've really just not seen the likes of before. I know we've had great offenses before, but I don't think we've had an offense where you had this many talented offensive pieces matched with this talented of a quarterback, matched with this great of a head coach, matched with this great of an offensive coordinator and everything. There's so many things that just went right with this Chiefs team and their experience. I've said it before, speaking about the defense for the Chiefs, this Chiefs defense kind of just flips a switch when the playoffs come. We saw it last year where, throughout the regular season, they'll kind of be, decent, mediocre, they'll have moments, but this playoffs come and they flip that switch and they play really high level defense. I love what the Bucs have been doing this postseason. I think their defense has been playing well. I think that they've got a really great pieces, and Tom is the GOAT. But everything comes to an end. It is time for the Mahomes era to begin. Mahomes is starting not even starting, it has already started. He is in the midst of his ascension to possibly becoming the greatest quarterback of all time. And what better way to do that than to beat the man that we currently look at as the GOAT? I have the Chiefs winning this. I think that they will be able to move the ball. I think they'll be able to score. I have this game being close. I'll actually even give you a final score. I have the Chiefs winning 33-29.
I was dumbfounded by the 29. First of all, I like the number. Don't get me wrong. And that's personal. That's personal. But 29, that's a rare football score. It's a rarefied air. So wow, okay. All right. Keith, all yours.
For me to heap as much praise on the Chiefs as I do as a Denver Broncos fan should tell you just how good I think this Chiefs team is. I don't want them to win. I don't want them to make the Broncos look worse than they do, but it's just a matter of fact. The team is really stupidly good on the offensive side on the ball, and for as much flack as the defense gets, defense makes plays when it needs to make plays. I think it's going to be a close game early, all the way up into even halftime maybe. But at some point, the Chiefs' offense will just be too much for the Bucs defense to manage. We all know the recipe to beat the Chiefs. You can't rush too many. You have to leave a lot back in coverage. But the problem is no one has been able to do that, especially in the playoffs. If you're a fan of Hell's Kitchen, you know they have the recipe to Gordon Ramsay's lobster risotto, but they still don't make it like Gordon Ramsay does. And that's what it comes to with the Chiefs offense. Everyone knows how to beat the Chiefs offense. You just can't do it. Patrick Mahomes is too good. Travis Kelce is too good. Tyreek Hill is too good. And then you throw in an addition of players like Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, and a super uber aggressive Honey Badger on defense who will not let any of the mistakes Tom Brady had in a Packers game get away like the Packers did. I think at the end of the day, the Chiefs are going to prove that they're just the best team in the NFL right now. And for the foreseeable future, I have the Chiefs winning 41-27.
Wow.
Bold prediction. Okay, John, the only one with a rooting interest this weekend for sure. It's all yours.
As you see in my background, run it back. That has been the mantra for this football team from the very beginning. They took a 16-game regular season for the other 31 NFL franchises and made it a preseason for them. How many teams can win 8 straight one-possession ball games? The Kansas City Chiefs did it because they can turn it on and off with the flip of a switch. And it's just a different level of football team. And it's really fun to watch. It's frustrating because at some point in time they can go on a 38-6 run like they did in the AFC Championship, but they just don't do it all the time because they don't have to. And with nothing left on the table, I see them just really dominating this game from start to finish. The defense is playing at a complete other level, like Dom said, very poetically, that they're opportunistic, they're really aggressive, they're super fast. Juan Thornhill's finally healthy after tearing his meniscus in the last, or his ACL in the last game a year ago. So he just completes that back end, which is the Chiefs' strength. And to stop a Tom Brady offense, you need to be really good on that back end. Frank Clark and Chris Jones turn it on in the playoffs. And when you can allow Tyrann Mathieu to just roam around, this defense is nearly unbeatable with the offense that they throw out there. And, I watched the game, the Super Bowl from a year ago yesterday with my son, and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce were open constantly. And that's what they have been all season. And when you have the best quarterback of this generation, I'm not really ready to say that he can be the greatest of all time. But I think this championship matchup where you can kind of see the passing of the torch from the greatest that I've ever watched to, potentially the greatest that we'll ever see in Patrick Mahomes is really poetic. So I'm excited as a Chiefs fan, as all of us are here in Kansas City. But I think if it goes the way it should, we can start pulling out that D word and start saying dynasty. Now, I want to say on Sunday about 9 o'clock, we're going to see the dynasty begin as Kansas City wins 35-24 over Tampa Bay.
Wow.
Go ahead and say it, John. Just go ahead and say he's on his way to becoming the GOAT. It's okay. You don't have to be humble. Just say it.
He's the kid.
Listen, I can tell you what. I know everybody says Brady's the GOAT, what he's done. To me, winning Super Bowls is a great add to the resume. It's what you also do, how you want them. If that was the case, Bradshaw would be considered one of the greatest, and he shouldn't be. Okay, with that team, like I said, the guy behind him could have won a couple of Super Bowls for him too. When you have receivers falling down, catching the football, right? that's not a quarterback ripping it to the numbers. That's a bunch of dogs that were making plays for you. So Brady had guys making plays for him in the beginning of his career. They kept the games close defensively, and they made some plays. He had a great kicker that was able to hit some clutch kicks. Otherwise, the Rams are celebrating a back-to-back Super Bowl. All right, and we can go on down the list, but Mahomes is off to a great start to his career. There's no other way to describe it. To come in and win back-to-back Super Bowls sets him up for long-term success because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Brady gets one more ring. I mean, this is just rarefied air. There's no other way to describe it. Go somewhere first year, and granted, with the team he has, he should be where he is.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, to go somewhere first year and then do exactly what you were picked to do, drop the mic and walk off. Yeah. Don't stay too long. Just drop the mic and walk off. All right. So, yeah, my pick is going to be Kansas City, not because I want Kansas City to win. I could care less. Either the town I live in is going to be happy or they'll be upset, but the dude that deserves to win, it wins no matter what. Either way, it doesn't affect me either way. I'm still got to deal with the fact that my team is sitting at home doing the same thing I'm doing on Super Bowl Sunday. That's eating and watching. So, but no, I have a feeling this is going to be Kansas City's game. I really do. I think Kansas City's ripe to do what they're supposed to do, repeat and defend their championship in a very odd COVID year. So we got a lot of time left. So we're going to announce the winner, give somebody their FaceTime, and we're going to talk about this and ride this on out. So, yes, I see the comments going on. I'm going to get to you guys in a minute. We got a winner to announce first. That's right. Herm said it. You play to win the game. Well, so we got a winner. And, of course, it's the Ricky Bobby rule for those who are watching for the first time. If you ain't first, you're last. No matter what, if you don't win, you're going to the back. It doesn't matter what order I send you to the back. It doesn't mean that the first person to the back is in last. It just means that you didn't win. It's plain and simple. I just sent you to the back for drama. All right, so with that being said, it's time to make our first elimination. And although he's already won because his team's already in Super Bowl, John, I'm sorry you are not the winner this week, so you're going to the back.
Wow.
He's already won. His team is playing this weekend. He's the only guy. He's already won. And believe it or not, he almost won again, which would have been sacrilegious. The guy wins, and then he comes on. His team goes to the Super Bowl and plays. That's just a little too much. It's almost unfair. It's almost unfair. It's almost unfair. But that's my fault. John, my fault, man. I booked you on the team when you're in Super Bowl teams in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry I did. But yeah, so all right. So we got Keith. We got Dom. Both multiple winners. Keith has been salivating for that fourth win. Dom, I lost count how many times Dom has come on here and won. Is it 5? Is it 5? You doing a Booker T on me? Is that it? All right. So with that being said, I can't hold it back any longer. You got 5, Dom? You said, is that 5? You holding up 5? Well, guess what? Keith's going to match you because Keith got you this week. The most
there we
game
go.
in nothing but sports. Keith Richards, it is all yours. Guess where I'm going? I'm going to the back.
All right. First of all, props to Dom and John. Always fun being on with them. Always great competition, good conversation. But since we have so much time, I want to do a little different FaceTime. So I want to bring everyone back in and have a discussion about, with only 2 Super Bowl wins, if he is the MVP, where do we put Mahomes in respect to the greatest of all time? I'll go ahead and say I wouldn't say he's the greatest of all time at this point. And it's not because of the Super Bowls. I don't think Super Bowls are the key factor for you being the greatest of all time. But what we've seen from him in 3-4 seasons, if he wins this game, is unlike anything we've ever seen before from an NFL quarterback. You can make all the arguments you want about all the weapons that they have. He still has to make plays. And he makes plays seemingly every drive that they have in a game. So even with Brady's 6 Super Bowls, I think he would be pretty – he might not be in the room, but he's banging on that door of greatest of all time if he wins this back-to-back. I want to know what you guys think.
He has to be on that Rushmore. It's getting close. There's Brady, Manning, Montana, like 4 or 5 somewhere in there. Like you can make arguments for some other guys, but we watch football and we see what we see, and he's doing stuff every week that we don't see, and he's making the game better. He's a good guy. He's not a jerk about anything that he does. Like it's fascinating to watch him. Like if he pulled if he wanted to retire and go home to that baby and that wife and call it quits after this season, 2 Super Bowls and 2 MVPs, top 5 somewhere in there. Right?
Dom, you want to say anything about
that? Yeah. So, and I remember, I think earlier this morning, Ryan Clark made kind of a similar kind of case talking about, if he were to retire. And yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes, especially if he wins this Sunday, he could retire on Monday, and he had better be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's how I feel about Patrick Mahomes. You look at what he has done so far in his career. I mean, you want to talk about all the weapons and things. Alex Smith didn't throw 50 touchdowns in this offense. Okay. That was Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, they had all these weapons. Andy Reid was there. This offense didn't click and didn't turn into the greatest offense we've ever seen until Patrick Mahomes got there. Patrick Mahomes, I mean, think about how special he was in just his rookie year in one game. They saw him play in one game and were like, yeah, Alex, you can go ahead and hit the road, buddy. Because we have our guy. Patrick Mahomes, remember that game? Right. We saw him one game. It was just like, okay, yeah, we don't even need to. You can go ahead and you've played. All right. You've served us well. Thank you. But it's time. Came in, throws for 50 touchdowns, has a record year. 3 straight AFC Conference Championship games to start his career. And really, this is kind of an opportunity to avenge that the first AFC Conference Championship loss against Brady. If he wins this, he beats the GOAT, probably will win another Super Bowl MVP, 2 rings, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I mean, and is the orchestrator of one of the greatest offenses of all time. I don't know how you don't put him in the conversation as one of the greats. Like Breeze, yeah, he has all these records. Guess what? 1 Super Bowl, never got there again. Rodgers has made it to multiple NFC Conference Championship games, only won one of them, only made it to the Super Bowl once. Peyton Manning kind of for a very long time was kind of looked at as a guy who only was great in the regular season. Postseason comes and Peyton kind of disappears. Right? He got dragged to a Super Bowl win in his last Super Bowl when he played with the Broncos. So you think about all these other guys, and it's just, you look at his resume. I think his resume, even though it's very short, it's impressive as hell. And just from the eye test, he's better than all those guys. So I think you have to put him in the conversation of one of the greatest of all time. If he wins and he retires on Monday, first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm just going to say, wow. Wow. You'd put him in if he retired on Monday.
Yes.
You'd put him in despite the fact that his career would be shorter than the wait to get him in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Listen, I understand. There's something to be said about longevity. I really understand. Like, there's something to be said for being able to play this game for a long time. You know, that's where some of the people, that's where some of the people come up and say, you know, like they talk about Phillip Rivers getting into the Hall of Fame, maybe it's like, or Frank Gore getting into the Hall of Fame. It's like the longevity and how they were so good for a very long time. Patrick Mahomes has hit peaks that I don't think we've ever seen any other player hit. Not even necessarily just in football, maybe in all of sports. Like, this is an unprecedented run of dominance. Like, think about how many bad games you've seen Patrick Mahomes play. Hint, you haven't really seen it. There may have been one half of a game where he played decent. Other than that, he's been phenomenal. So, yeah.
No, I'm not taking it. I think, plain and simple, he wins this weekend. He is on that path. You know, he's on the yellow brick road heading to greatness. Doesn't mean he's there to me. He's still got a ways to go. But, I mean, the start to his career mirrors only one other person, and that would be Montana. You know, to come in and have that kind of success, and if he can sustain it for as long as he did, what can you say about him? I mean, you got to crown him. But to me, he still has to sustain it. We've seen guys come up, have this meteoric rise, and all it takes is one bad thing to go wrong, and then all of a sudden they're never the same. So, you know, I would love to see him continue to do what he's done. He's a guy that I thought when I evaluated him for the draft had this kind of potential, but because he was so raw, there was a doubt. Mm-hmm. He erased all of that doubt now, you know, but to me, like I said, when it comes to quarterbacks, I don't always count the Super Bowls as the be-all, end-all, and whether they're great quarterbacks. To me, I'm sorry, one of the greatest quarterbacks in league history never, ever won a Super Bowl. He only got there once, and that was Dan Marino.
Yep.
You know, and that man did so many amazing things as a quarterback. And we talk about the 85 Bears. Well, the one blemish on their record was the guy who wasn't supposed to beat them in Dan Marino. So, you know, never won a Super Bowl, but he got a yellow jacket on his first try for a reason. You know, Dan Fouts deserved his yellow jacket besides the fact that he never won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know, is he one of the greatest of all time? Not really. He's a great quarterback, but not one of the greatest of all time. But nevertheless, I think the championships, along with the long-term success, you're automatically part of the conversation. You know, and believe you me, there's no way if he continues on the path that he's been blazing so far, he'll be crowned. They'll stop talking about Brady and they'll start talking about Patrick Mahomes for sure.
I think the longevity for sure is a key factor. I get a lot of crap for saying it, but I really don't care. For my taste of football, the best quarterback I've ever seen play up to this point for an entire career was Peyton Manning. He only won 2 Super Bowls. He probably should have won more if they had better defenses. But if you just look at Peyton Manning when he played, whether the defense was good or bad, whether the team was good or bad, he was still considered, if not the best, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for, 12, 13 straight years when he played. And for all the crap that people said about him not being able to throw from certain platforms, for his unathleticism, he still held almost all the quarterback records. And that's even missing a year and playing for, 3 or 4 years after losing feeling in his fingers. So it's not about championships. It's about what we see on the field. And I haven't been as excited watching someone play quarterback since Peyton Manning as I do with Patrick Mahomes because he just plays right. Not too much drama. He just plays football. And you can't dislike the guy. I don't know how anyone can dislike him.
Well, I can tell you what would really make this game really exciting. It comes down to the final play, and we get an ending like you're seeing behind me. Rams, Titans, tackled at the 1.5-inch yard line. That would be a great ending to this weekend. I would love to see that. I don't know. I don't care which team it is, whether it's Brady or Mahomes. Somebody get tackled at the 1 yard line as time runs out. Great ending to the game.
That, Jeff.
Well, yeah. It would be great. It would be a great storybook, and they could make a movie off that game. They could make, listen, we've made movies off of worse. Okay, if you ask Monty And if you haven't watched Monty's show, he's got a lot of great content. I suggest you watch it. But if you ask Monty, one of the worst sports movies is Rudy. Okay, and let's face it, it's a very inspiring story for the guys who go, oh, he was a scrub. Why did they make a movie out of him? Well, if you saw Rudy Rudiger in real life, you'd understand why they made a movie out of him. Okay, because he should not have been out there.
Monty is also a Michigan fan, though, right?
No, he's an Oregon fan, which I don't understand his loathing for Notre Dame if you're an Oregon fan. I mean, that's so far removed from a rivalry. It's so far removed from a rivalry. Yeah. So, yes, I mean, what are your guys' plans for the big game this weekend?
Whew.
Not much. I'm still trying to lose weight, and I can't work out this week because I sprained my ankle. So, not too many wings for me.
I'm gonna probably dive face first into like a 12-pack and just enjoy the game.
Yeah, we're having some close family over, and we're doing a taco bar and all that. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Taco bar. Nice.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got my.
Apparently, I can't eat chips and dip during the middle of the game.
If you're eating chips and dip during the game itself, you're doing it wrong. That is for pregame, before the national anthem. Once the game starts, you're supposed to have the heavy stuff. You're supposed to be nice and full for halftime, so the halftime show keeps you awake. That's what.
So is Miller and Tyreek Hill actually going to race, or did that one get nixed?
I haven't heard anything about that one.
Yeah,
just like the throwing contest
on Twitter and tried to get Scotty Miller to race him at halftime, since Scotty Miller was out there running his mouth about being faster than Tyreek Hill.
Listen, Scotty, I like you, and it's super cool when white guys can run fast. I get it. You're not faster than Tyreek Hill. Let's nip this in the bud right now. No.
Yeah, if he was faster than Tyreek Hill, I think Carlton Davis could have maybe stayed up with Tyreek for a quarter.
Right.
Yeah. Carlton Davis was out there on that one game like, help me.
He wasn't dancing to Carlton that weekend.
Not at all.
So Joe McGrath wants to know, do you think Tom Brady retires?
No.
Hell, Tom was just talking about I could see myself playing well after 45. Like at first it was, I want to play till I'm 45. Now he's having fun. And it's like, oh yeah, I could see myself playing until I'm 48. Like he might go till he's 50. I mean, Tom Brady is literally the best walking advertisement for his whole TB12 method and like all of that. I feel like that stuff is going to jump off because of just the longevity that he's had. But yeah, he's got it one more year at least. At least.
I mean, we saw in the game against the Packers is that he doesn't even need to be perfect to make it to the Super Bowl because they have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and Leonard Fournette, Rojo, and Scotty Miller. He just needs to make a few key plays and not get hurt. And he's proven outside of the one time he tore his ACL, he'll be in a game. So if he can just make 3 good passes a game that matter, he'll keep playing.
Wabsolutely.
Yeah. Bernard Palmer is the guy who hit him to tear that ACL, if anybody's worried. Week 1 in 2008.
And the league made a whole rule change because of it.
Well, the thing is, that came to bite the Chiefs in the butt because we thought Matt Castle was a decent quarterback and gave him way too much money.
Well, you had a line of quarterbacks that
right, don't even get me started on the line.
Well, there was Rich Gannon, Steve Bono.
Rich Gannon was the best of the bunch.
You guys had
we ran Tyler Thigpen, Kyle. Payton.
Yes.
You guys had
the game where Tyler Palco started a game for the Chiefs.
Hey, listen, you guys. Joe Montana almost came to town and won. You guys won.
Oh, yeah. If it wasn't for Bruce Smith, he would have actually gotten you back to the Super Bowl.
I don't. I watched that game. No,
Bruce Smith coming off the edge was what finished that.
Kimball Andrews dropping a pass in the end zone that got picked up and picked off right before halftime. What cost that game? That's when John's 7-year-old little heart hurt for the first time when the Chiefs really just destroyed me for 25 years.
I was never a Chiefs fan, but I always remember, and I'm going to date myself here. Okay. I remember watching plenty of Chiefs games when they came on CBS back in the day, and when they were on Monday Night Football on ABC, and you would catch them, or even Sunday nights on ESPN, and you would catch them, and they had Christian Okoye running over everybody. And then Atwater first got him. And it was like, okay, he's vulnerable. And I remember seeing a hit that was even harder than Steve Atwater. Nobody talks about it. And what happened was he goes into the line in short yardage, and Shane Conlon from the Bills hits him. And I've never seen when Atwater had him, he went backwards and fell down. When Conlon hit him, Christian Okoye went straight up like a pole and fell backwards. Right? That right there changed everything for me. Because I said, okay, that's how you hit. And it was short quarters. There was no running start, none of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was like, okay. And after that, the Chiefs had a bunch of running backs that everybody liked. There was Okoye, it was Barry Word. There was a little scat back. I'm forgetting his name right now. And then it all went they kind of fell into mediocrity for a while. And then you finally fired Marty Schottenheimer, because after that point it was just like, okay, it was time to move on. But you had Derek Thomas, you had Neil Smith, you had a very good team in the early 90s and mid 90s, and it just got old. So
bad quarterback play and terrible receivers.
Well, you didn't have a great quarterback when those teams were really good back then. You had Steve DeBerg. It was a quality quarterback. He was a quality starter. He just wasn't. But you didn't need a great quarterback then.
You had a good defense, or you had a great defense there.
A great defense. Yeah. That's right. Albert Lewis, Deron Cherry. There was a Grambling guy in there named Albert Lewis. It's a Grambling guys were everywhere back in those days.
Yeah. Prayers to the Schottenheimer family. Marty got moved to hospice today, so
that's not good.
Big loss for potential loss for the NFL.
Yeah, it was a good coach, very good man. I've taken plenty of shots at his son as a coach, but my prayers are with him and his family in this situation. This is not a time to take a shot at anybody.
Kansas City, so just couldn't win the big one.
Yeah. Well, John, your team is the only one enjoying this weekend, so good luck to you guys. It's time to bump everybody to the back because it's time to go. So hang tight, fellas. We'll talk in a minute. All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in on the Super Bowl preview show. Next week is our last show of the season. We will wrap up the Super Bowl, talk about stuff going into the off season, and then it'll be it for this first season of No Huddle Necessary. Thanks for watching. After next week, it will be the draft show. So we're going into draft season. So we're transitioning over from football season to draft season. So nonstop content coming to you from Nuts and Bolts Sports. So stay tuned. We are not going anywhere. It is just time to change strides. So with that being said, I am your host, Jeff Barnes. For my guests, Dom Shirosky, we're talking, of course, Keith Richards and, of course, John Meyer. Everybody enjoy the Super Bowl. Have a great night. And once again, whoever you're rooting for, make sure you're eating the heavy stuff during the game. That's right. I'm trying to fatten you up for the Super Bowl. That's what it's about. All right. Everybody have a great night. Take care and enjoy. The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.